Hey guys, it's Ken. I just wanted to get with you and kind of give you a video rather than a long email because there's a lot to cover. And so, Jeff, if you could take notes on this, it'd be helpful. I'm just going to kind of go through my prayers on this meeting. I thought that it was an amazing effort, especially Jeff and well, all of us, but especially Jeff pushing, evangelizing this meeting and getting people to get on board. And so I really feel like now that we're starting to gain some traction here, that we really got to step up the game, and I think we all understand that. And I can give you my pros and cons of what I felt happened, and then also my years of experience on putting on events, as this is becoming bigger than just a small networking meeting; it's becoming an event. So I'm pretty good at the event planning situation, but I think it's going to would be best to have a team effort on this. And I think got some ideas about bringing in resources within the group that can help us accomplish our objective for the meetings. So honestly, right now, let's talk about the meeting itself. It was a little disorganized, and we introduced too many new things at once. And so, just like any other thing, we have to introduce one thing at a time or two things at a time, not five or seven things, and try to execute. So, as far as the meeting, I felt like trying to do a QR code for people was disengaging, and it was got people rather than talking face to face when they get to the meeting, they started staring at their phones and trying to figure out an app. That's not my intention. I would say the best way to do the QR code thing is for people to use it after they leave or at the end of the meeting. They want to be more interested in what we have going and invited to be part of the directory and the invitations for the future. I would say that that would be a nice tool to have. A lot of people are still not used to using QR codes, and it takes the person to person out of it. And so, great idea, but I think it needs to be definitely just like an airplane, flight. You have to test everything first before trying to pull it off live, especially when you have a big group. And that was a big group, 32 people. It was impressive. And I know we want to go to 50 and we want to go to 100, but if we're going to do that, we have to simplify and we have to cut and we have to go for what is the juice of the matter, what's going to have the highest impact. And I've got some ideas on that. First of all, hats off to Jeff for his evangelism and getting people there. He was spearheaded, and I loved his gusto, and it got me motivated as I've been extremely busy and a little stressed, as you can tell. This real estate market's been kind of harrowing, and I got a lot of irons in the fire. So I appreciate your evangelizing this. Now, that being said, since I put on so many events in the past, once the event is, we have to have the pre-event planning and marketing. We have to at the event planning, marketing, and we have to post-event planning and marketing. And so the first one is pre-planning the event. And rather than waiting 2 or 3 days or a week before the event, the pre-planning should start at the end of the. It should start now, like right after the end of the last meeting, because we're only 2 weeks away, and so it comes up fast. And so when we're starting to see this much reaction here, and we want to build it, we've got to get our ducks in a row ahead of time here. And for instance, now we got Mike Grimm, a fantastic entrepreneur, a great speaker. He's spoken at national conferences, and he agreed to be our speaker for the next meeting. And so that's really exciting, and I can't wait to hear what he says because everything that comes out of his mouth is wisdom. But that being said, we really need to step up and honor his presence and his message by making it streamlined and extremely organized. So the marketing needs to go out a lot further ahead of time. We need to have, as Bernie said, flyers made up and be able to have those flyers available at the church too. Even during the normal services and what have you, and also have the flyers available for people to take with them for the next meeting. So if they like what they had, hey, take a stack of flyers and invite some friends. And really, the word of mouth is how it's really going to grow, and also is going to be a very well. I think it's a best way for a group to grow is organically, inviting friends, inviting friends. It's the old Acts chapter 2 thing. That's how we would like to. I vision this as an Acts chapter 2 kind of arrangement. That being said, the whole one of the things that I realized is the team leaders didn't show up until just before the event, and even though they were instructed to show up at 11:15, I couldn't even make it by 11:15. I was about 11:20, 11:25, and so it is tough. You have an hour and 15 minutes. You're asking people to drive a ways away to get there, and a lot of times people run into traffic or what have you. I thought that was a great idea to bring in worship, but the worship took 20 some minutes, and I guess Gabe didn't read the instructions or the agenda, which was the first mistake. Plus, he was also late. He came in 5-7 minutes after the event had started. So we can't be having that, especially when it comes to the worship. It becomes too, it draws away from the purpose of having worship. You don't want somebody just running up there and grabbing their guitar and go on stage. So with worship, my thoughts are we don't want to eliminate it, but after talking to a few people, they said, why don't you start worship around 11:20, 11:15, 11:30, 15, 20 minutes before the event begins. And that way the atmosphere, the presence can be started. The saints gathering together as they go into the sanctuary can understand that they're entering into a place of worship. And so I would say that it would be best to have that. If we're going to do worship, we either do 2 songs or 1 song, 4 minutes, done, and the worship leader needs to know that that's the time frame, or start early and build that presence, and only have one worship leader, Christine or Gabe, whoever it is, but only have one worship leader. I don't think it was most effective by having 2 people playing the same song that may play it differently and all, what have you. So that's my thoughts, is that if you're going to do worship, while we're even setting up and having the worship started and get that atmosphere going, then when 11:45 hits, we do 3 or 4 minutes of deep worship while the presence is already there. Okay, that's my take on worship. Then, as far as the food's concerned, it gets to be a little bit tricky. Is the buffet certainly works. It's always hard to estimate how much food to bring. This the Jersey Mike's that I bought, it was $170, which was meant to feed 25 people. We had 30 people there, so I always have to guesstimate as how much food we have, and so I think the sandwiches worked well because it was easy to pick up and move along, as opposed to the brisket and all that. If we're going to feed 25 people, it's going to start getting pretty expensive, and it's also going to be a little bit more cumbersome. So it is a lunch meeting, and so I think we have to structure it that way. We got to, somebody mentioned about not having food at all, and that's not going to go well with a lunch type meeting during lunchtime, because people like to eat. So I think we definitely need to have the food. I think we had our format set out properly in the agenda, which was a couple minutes of worship, and then a very poignant speech from an educator. And I think that would be not bad to have the people after worship grab the food and then sit down and then listen to the talk. That way we can double. That way we got people eating at the same time that they're listening to the speech. So I think that's going to be a good way to do it. We can discuss that on the call. Let me see. The table later thing, that needs to be addressed way ahead of time, and specific instructions on what they're supposed to do. We could do that simply by doing a video like this and sending it out to the people, but we can't have the team leaders showing up just before it shows before the event. So they either got to commit or we just got to find somebody else to do the table leading for that. There wasn't enough chance to have discussion, and so that's why I think that that we encourage people to come early, and if they're going to network, they can network in the lobby ahead of time before, while the event's getting started and the worship's going on. Once they get done shaking a few hands and greeting each other, go on into the sanctuary and get some worship going. Then we have the official 11:45 start. Then we have the go ahead and grab the food, break bread, and then have the speech, brief and amazing, and then have the table discussions. We had too many people doing. Ben had his, Pastor Ben had his questions. Couldn't get to those. I had my little questionnaire. It was hard to get to those, but I felt the questionnaire was much easier to fill out than trying to do the QR code thing. And we have to get that refined. What is going to be discussed at the table meetings, and then how can everybody be represented? I think it was 11:47, or I'm sorry, it was 12:47 when I realized we hadn't had any introductions for people that came and wanted to network at a networking group, and so that's why I stepped in and had, because I'm a pretty good speaker, I can get it done quickly, and got through the room and actually got it done in about 15 minutes for the whole group. I thought it was better than than nothing, but better than doing it half-assed and with the table leaders who really aren't really geared at knowing that we need to be brief and amazing. And so I could see even with team table leaders that the introductions could get drawn out. So we have to talk about those introductions, and it is a networking and referral meeting. So really like at the table for everybody at the table to meet each other and greet each other at the table, but also how do we incorporate like I said, the custom home builder that needs the roofer over there. So we can talk about that on our call and see how that's gonna best work. I thought that after talking to Michelle, she was basically saying what excites her, and Sabrina also, was the after event. Those that want to stay and not just network, but get their business prayed for and get a word of encouragement. So I think Jeff's suggestion of having prayer warriors over on the left side of the sanctuary for those that need prayer after the event, if they want to stay, and then have people on the right side of the sanctuary or out in the hallway, to gather together and shake hands and meet and greet. And then gathering the information, make sure we have have all the people represented as far as if they've signed in, to make sure they get them all on a database. And so that's kind of the thing that I was talking to Heidi, Pastor Ben's daughter-in-law, and what Pastor Ben was talking about is about setting up foundations and procedures is exactly what we're talking about. Maybe we can ask her, I'm going to ask her to help me in my business, but maybe we can ask her as a volunteer, if she's willing to help us with these establishing procedures and protocols and systems. And so let's use the people in the group and then to help them with their best skills. And that's her skill set and it's not mine. And so that would be another good possibility, is to have somebody that already knows how to do these systems and procedures, or put it together based on the vision of the group, and make it more systematized. And then we can cut out the fat. In fact, we need to cut out the fat now and decide what needs to stay and what needs to go, what worked, what didn't. SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So this can continue to grow. And I think there was some pretty cool things about mentorship and that was going on. In fact, I think the other Gabe, the young real estate Gabe, took my advice and said, talk to the guy that owns multi-million dollars worth of real estate, George Welter, and listen to what he has to say. And he sat there after the meeting and got over with George and spent 15 minutes picking his brain and getting information, and that's what George wanted to share, was his wisdom. So that was a really cool thing, and so people are looking for. I think we need to have not only mentorship but accountability partners. Would be really cool. Anyway, somebody that is in the group and wants to stay in the group, maybe get with an accountability partner where they can tag in, touch base with each other between events, and say, okay, on Friday at noon we're gonna have a call. You know, how are you doing? Are you on track with your goals? And how's the Lord? You know, your relationship with the Lord going? Is there any new stuff? Is there any issues we need to pray for? Is there any, you know, whatever it is? But accountability partners, I think, would be a good thing to be able to introduce as a continuity. And that's what we need, is a continuity plan for the event after it's over. Who gathers all the information? Who puts up the posts on Facebook and all that kind of stuff? Who's going to, should this be videotaped, or maybe at least the message, that we can put the message on a Facebook group, YouTube. We're all about that. I got all that kind of stuff. So that we need to have a post event procedure as well. And it's almost like the post event starts into the is starting in the pre-event for the next, you know, just like church. You're already planning for next Sunday's sermon when Monday comes around. So I think that would really be good. And I can't do it all myself, so that's why we want to have this group discussion and see how we want to pull that together. Let me see if there's anything else I can think of. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more, but yeah, rather than typing a long email, it was probably better for me to just go ahead and send this over to you. So I'll talk to you guys at 3, okay? Talk to you soon. Bye.